How's it going, everyone? It's Connor over here at Harley-Davidson of Indianapolis. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're starting a new YouTube series, our test ride and review, and I figured we'd start with one of my favorite motorcycles in the 2021 model year, the Low Rider S. Before we get into the ride and review on this Low Rider S, let's talk about the history of the Low Rider S a little bit. Actually, initially debuted mid-model year 2016. Harley-Davidson, with their More Roads initiative, really going after the big twin Dyna model, West Coast style cruiser. Big twin cruiser, really kind of fell into that performance cruiser at the time, and I really still think does. The Low Rider S was manufactured as a Dyna in 2016 and 17, and then Harley-Davidson went on to cancel the Dyna model or the Dyna model line in 2018, which still one of the most talked about things in this dealership today. 3 years after it happens, people are asking for Dyna Low Rider S's. People are asking for Dyna Low Riders. And all this kind of stuff, even 3 years later, and I have a feeling it's going to go on quite a bit longer. The Low Rider S was not manufactured by Harley-Davidson in 2019 or 2018 after they made the switch from the Dyna to the Softail frame, but it did make its way back in 2020 under two colors, the Vivid Black and the Barracuda Silver, and that came on the Softail frame, which you're talking about the single monoshock in the back, the inverted front forks, and I kind of hate to say it, but the Softail frame, it rides really, really well, and I would say it's a better ride than the Dyna predecessor of the Low Rider S. First thing we're going to talk about on this motorcycle has got to be the performance aspect. It is a performance cruiser, so we can't not start out without talking about the 114 MILWAUKEE-EIGHT engine. Thing puts out about 120 foot-pounds of torque at about 3,000 RPM. Plenty of power headed straight into that 6-speed transmission. Thing's got all the passing power you would need. First through sixth gear. This thing is super responsive, can get up to wherever you're going. Top speed of about 109, 110 miles an hour if you're really pushing it. And the thing just kind of cruises. I like to say it eats the road. Like anything you put in front of it, it just goes through with ease. And I really do contribute that to the powertrain with the 114 cubic inch engine, giving you all the power you need through that 6-speed transmission, which just allows for a consistent and efficient transfer of power from the engine through the transmission into the wheels and ultimately on the road. Next, we're going to talk about the dark bronze matted wheels. It's actually a really cool feature. I don't think any other 2021 model year has it, but it actually matches the tank emblem logo, Harley-Davidson logo, with the wheels, being again that matted dark bronze. Your front wheel is 19 inches and your rear wheel is a 16-inch rear wheel, and they both run with, honestly, I never thought I'd say this, but one of the most reliable tires. Yes, you can tell a difference in tires you use with the Scorcher 31. The thing it keeps the road dry no matter really what you're working with. I've ridden now a few times in this motorcycle. It's Indianapolis. Sometimes we get spotty rainstorms. I was riding through it last week and got one of those spotty rainstorms. Never once did I feel like this motorcycle, did I feel like these tires, was I in any kind of worrisome position as far as just the road feeling too wet or feeling too nervous, especially being a newer rider with these Scorcher 31s and this motorcycle in particular. Just, again, anything you throw in front of it, this thing does a great job getting through it. As we make our way up the motorcycle in terms of aesthetics and the way it just looks. First thing we got to talk about is the tank badging. We made mention of how it matches colors with the wheels. It's probably the most controversial paint job we have here in the 2021 model year. A lot of people really love this badging. It really stands out as you get closer, but further away from the motorcycle, it really blends in so it feels like a true midnight crimson paint job all the way across this 5-gallon fuel tank. Personally, I like when the Harley logo stands out a little bit more, but I definitely appreciate that there's that little subtle detail with just like the history, Harley-Davidson in the 70s, just kind of that feel, a little West Coast feel, which ultimately it's a West Coast performance cruiser. So I think they did a really great job. Just from a personal standpoint, I like it when people know I'm riding a Harley outside of the iconic American looks. But yeah, it's probably the most talked about attribute on this motorcycle would be the paint on this 5-gallon fuel tank. As we kind of talk about the performance with the 5-gallon fuel tank, we're looking at about 47, 48 miles per gallon, which is good for really 240, 260 miles per tank, it's a great road trip bike. As we talk about taking this thing out for a little bit of longer rides, I think the one big detractor for me is really the lack of wind buffering from the screen. If you're talking about 20, 30, 40 minutes, it's really not that bad. It does a good enough job at speeds up to about 70, 80-ish miles an hour. Obviously, we go the speed limit when we do test rides here at HD of Indy. But yeah, at 70, 80, it does a good job for a little bit of amount of time. You get up anywhere north of an hour, hour and a half, and it just it's a lot. The wind it fatigues you a little bit more. Not the same wind buffering you get from even a Sport Glide, which kind of has that similar. It's a mini fairing as opposed to a screen, but I would say the Sport Glide even buffers the wind a little bit more. Definitely, if you're looking at just cruising in Indianapolis, if you're just looking to cruise through the cornfields, one of my favorite things to do. If you're looking to just cruise down the West Coast next to the beach, down the East Coast next to the beach, wherever you're kind of going, it's a great cruising motorcycle. As far as high speeds for a long amount of time, I'm not entirely sure this motorcycle is for you. Kind of continuing on the performance as far as comfortable, one of the things I really love about this motorcycle is it comes stock with mid controls. Everyone's saying most motorcycles come stock with mid controls. Personally, I'm a big mid controls guy. It just fits exactly where my feet, exactly where I want to. I totally see how if you're a rider that's more than 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", Ford controls would definitely be ideal. But for me, I'd say for this motorcycle, 5'8" to the 6'1" range, mid controls on this motorcycle, it just gives you a little bit more of that performance feel as you're kind of cruising in and out of the S curves. You really hold on tight with those legs, and you can really, it feels good as you're going through your turns, as you're kind of maneuvering. And that's the other great thing about this bike on the Softail frame is it never feels like you're in a situation in a parking lot where you're going to have to do a 4 or 5 turns. Like the turning radius on this thing is absolutely fantastic. Super maneuverable, can really, again, do anything that you want it to. As we continue to talk about really just comfort on this motorcycle, something that is, in my opinion, one of the most overlooked advancements Harley-Davidson has made with the evolution of the MILWAUKEE-EIGHT engine has got to be the slim down primary. This thing, it doesn't get in your way. You're not worried about it. Some of the twin cam with the larger primary, I've had trouble finding my kickstand on the MILWAUKEE-EIGHT. You just don't with the slim down primary. It gives you the clearance you need to, allowing for even some shorter riders to ride some of these I wouldn't call a Low Rider S a taller bike, but it allows for shorter riders to really experience and get a great feel for what it is to ride a cruiser. Yeah, I think really the slim down primary is one of the most overlooked technological advancements Harley-Davidson has made in really the last half decade. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the chassis. I know that we kind of mentioned it before with the Dyna versus the Softail, but with this chassis in particular, you just notice really so much between the performance of a 16 Low Rider S and a 21 Low Rider S. And I think a lot of that has to do with the chassis. And I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. To be perfectly honest, the Softail chassis, it rides better. It is a more comfortable ride. I understand there's a ton of culture and there's a ton of appreciation for the Dyna models. I appreciate the Dyna models. Heck, our sales manager rides a Dyna. Our delivery driver rides a Dyna. Like, we have so many Dyna enthusiasts here, and I love the Dyna for what it is. But if you're talking about a premium road experience, the Softail frame is where it's at. The monoshock really, again, just allows for that ultimate experience and ultimate confidence in everything you do. It's not going to beat you up. It's not going to beat you to death. I compare it to a Dyna is riding that wooden roller coaster, right? Everyone did it. For me, I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was the Cannonball roller coaster, Lake Winnie. I'll never forget it. It's like the first time I felt like I broke my arm getting off that thing, just because it beats you up. And then the Softail, it's like riding rock and roller coaster at Disney World. Thing goes from 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds, something our live wire does, but it's just smooth as can be. And if you're talking about premium performance, and we should be with a performance cruiser like this, the Softail chassis is the way to go. And that combined with the updated forks, with the inverted forks, with the sweep angle being a little bit lower, with the 4-piston brakes, and like what we talked about earlier, absolutely, when it comes to handling this motorcycle from a chassis to a front forks, it gives you all the confidence you need to do what you need to do on the road. You point it there, it goes there. Finally, when it comes to the looks of this motorcycle, got to talk about the paint schemes. There are only 2 available paint schemes in the 2021 Low Rider S. You're looking at my personal favorite. You've got the Midnight Crimson. It's that little tinge of red, just really pops. And it's an identifiable color. It's just a classically good color. And speaking of classically good colors, the other color this thing comes in is Vivid Black. Same badging with that bronze to match the wheels as well. The one thing I have heard as far as the 2021 versus the 2020, there are a few people that prefer the Barracuda Silver as that black Harley-Davidson logo really seemed to stand out a lot more and be a lot more prevalent than the bronze. Again, I can 100% see where they're coming. For me personally though, you just talk about the continuity with the screen, the tank, the rear fender. This Midnight Crimson is one of my favorite colors Harley has made or manufactured in the last couple years. When it comes to people who ride this, the first 2 things I feel like any of our customers do that buy the Low Rider S is they get bars that fit, and then they put a stage 2 on there, or they put a stage 4 on there. They get that 131 on there, which we actually have one here at the dealership. You'll see it. I'll cut to it right now. But that just kind of shows you the kind of riders you got. You're looking for that cruising around town, and you want to get up and go. You want that performance, the feel of 0 to 60 in 3 seconds flat. And that's what this bike is built for. You stack that on top of the West Coast styling, and And really kind of what we were talking about earlier, with the screen helping you out with wind buffering to about 50, 60 miles an hour, this bike's good for 2-hour rides, for 3-hour rides. I absolutely love the Low Rider S, but if I'm being honest, this bike is it's not a cross-country motorcycle. And I think just by looking at it, a lot of people would probably agree with it. This bike is from town to town. I want to ride a couple hundred miles on a Saturday. It's a cornfield cruiser here in Indiana. Cornfield cruiser. I'm gonna patent that. But yeah, that's what this bike is. When it comes to the fit of this motorcycle, again, you're talking about 5'8" to about 6'2". There is some variance. You get to 6'3", 6'4", plus the option to add Ford controls on it. Me personally, I think the addition of Ford controls really kind of takes away from the confidence of the performance, the confidence of the handling. But that's just me. If you are more comfortable with Ford controls, this bike has the performance you're looking for in everything else. And then lastly, we're just going to talk about the kind of person who appreciates the style. For a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, I would say that the Low Rider S is one of the more muted, one of the more kind of subtle, just classic American looks. It's West Coast, but you're not so outrageously hit with the Harley-Davidson logo like we see with the paint job. You're not so outrageously hit with Harley-Davidson on the breather. As you can see down there in your camshaft covering, that's pretty much all the badging you've got on this motorcycle. And I kind of really love just the simplicity of the design with it. It is what it is. It's a motorcycle that's going to go exactly where you want it to go, and you're going to have a heck of a lot of fun while riding it. If you're interested in more content like this, by all means, please hit that like and subscribe button down below. Follow us on our Facebook channel here. Follow us on our Instagram channel here. And we look forward to seeing you more often. And if you want more test ride and reviews, let us know in the comments below. We'll get them out for you. We got a lot of bikes to test out here at HD of Indy. And I'm sure there's a few fit specialists that would really appreciate the opportunity to do one of these for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your time. We'll see you next time.